Welcome back. It's estimated that the population of the U.S. is hovering right around 331 million people right now. Pretty soon we will know how valid that estimate is. 1 month from today, April 1st, is Census Day. And in the coming weeks, you will get an invitation to be a part of the 2020 census, a request to find out where you live, or where you will be living, I guess, on April 1st. Of course, this is more than just a head count. And Dr. Robert Preuhs is the head of the Political Science Department at Metropolitan State University. He's also hosting a number of discussions about the census at branches of the Denver Public Library. So thank you first for being here, because this really, this is important, the census.
You know, it's really important. It's constitutionally mandated. It is the basis for our representation system that's based on population. So once we get that head count, states are apportioned members of the House of Representatives. So it's really important from a state's perspective and how we produce our voice in those types of decision making. And it also bleeds down to the state and local levels too. All those districts that we vote in are determined by census counts.
But how do you make that important to people in their everyday lives when, you know, when they're thinking, I don't want to deal with what's happening in Washington right now anyway? Sure,
and it's real easy to kind of push this aside, but keep in mind that this is something that's going to matter for 10 years going forward, and without participating, we can really get a significant undercount. And those undercounts mean that not only are one person, one vote, our voices aren't equal to other places, but it also has a big effect on money. Over $800 billion is allocated by the federal government based in part on the census data. And on top of that, we're really looking at I think in Colorado I saw about $20,000 per person over the next 10 years that's lost if we don't participate. So
talk about the legislative impact. I mean, we are watching Colorado grow in leaps and bounds. So what's the potential here?
So every 10 years, some states win and some states lose. We have a set amount of members of the House of Representatives, and so the states that are growing the fastest, have the larger populations, they can pick up one. So Colorado's actually looking at picking up one congressional district. So instead of having 7, we'll have 8 starting in 2012.
Making our state a little more powerful.
That's right, that's right. So that's one more vote, and it also fits into the Electoral College vote because that's a addition to the 2 senators that we have.
So I know that, I mean, there's this sentiment of distrust of the government right now. So should we be concerned about, I mean, first of all, filling out forms and just in general, what we're getting and what we're letting people know about ourselves?
Definitely, and so a couple of things to kind of keep in mind. First of all, the census form is relatively short. It's about 9 questions. It does ask where you live, your telephone number, race, sex, and age. But it's important to keep in mind that that is mandatorily kept confidential for 72 years. So, you know, most folks will, you know, have a long time before we can get to it. And it's been a long, you know, we have a long history. It's not just now that people are skeptical of the census takers. But at the same time, this is something that I think it's really important to get over. This isn't something that we can skip.
So, and then this time around, I know there was issue with the citizenship question that is not on the census. So the citizenship question is not on the 2020 census. That was determined last summer by the Supreme Court. However, keep in mind that the history of the citizenship question it has been controversial. So we removed it in 2010, but at the same time, it was part of that infamous long form, right? The 10 pages that no one wanted to fill out from about 1970 to 2000. So it's not unusual, and we get that data in other ways as well. Okay, so how will we let people know? How do we fill out the census? How is that going to work physically? So the census actually has technically started. They start up in Alaska in some really remote areas in late January. But most of us are going to receive a postcard towards in the next 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to tell us how to go online, fill out the form. It should be pretty quick and easy. We need to answer questions for ourselves and all the folks in our households. And it shouldn't take too long, and it'll have a big impact. All right, well, Dr. Preuhs, we will all look for this postcard showing up in the mail, and then we get online and fill it out. And how long will that take, by the way? Easy. Filling it out? I don't know. Not too long. Hopefully you can get on. It's easy. Thank you so much. We appreciate your insight on the 2020 census. So if you want to learn more about the census, or maybe you have some questions, Dr. Preuhs will be speaking about the politics of the 2020 census tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the Central Branch of the Denver Public Library. That's the one at 12th and Broadway. And there will be another discussion at the Woodbury branch just before Census Day. That happens on March 31st. So again,